Hey everybody, what is going on today? My name is Buddy Blackford and I'm going to show you a couple of ways to force motion blur onto objects in CS6. So we can do this to video, or we can do this to pictures or images or anything like that. And there's certain ways to do it, and if you just try to do it the wrong way, it's not going to work and you're going to be like, what the hell is going on, man? So I'm going to show you the right way to do things. So first we're just going to bring in a video real quick, and let's bring it in. I cut it by accident earlier in a different tutorial and I haven't fixed it yet, but pretty much this video is just a line moving forward. Let me RAM preview this for you so we don't have to wait for it to load every 2 seconds. Alright, so it's just this. Now, let me try to add motion blur to this and we can see what happens. I enabled the switch here, which enables it for the comp, and I'm going to enable it for the layer here. And I'll RAM preview. And you're just going to basically see that nothing happens. I'll change it on and change it off. You see that nothing happens. So you don't got any motion blur in your video here because it doesn't have any position keyframes or rotation keyframes or anything like that to transform it. It's just a video. Let me scale this video down a little bit so we can see it a little more. So how are we going to add motion blur to this? Well, there is a way we can use it, and the effect is called CC wide time. I type it in here, CC wide, and it's under the time section. So I'm going to use the this section over here to add my effects and presets. So I'm going to bring it over here and drag it onto my layer. And now you can see that some motion blur has been added. And it adds it a lot to the line here because it is moving more, and to the stuff in the back not as much. You can adjust the way that your blur looks by using these forward steps and backward steps. So if I bring this up, you can see he's a lot more blurred out. I'll bring that back to 1 maybe, and I'll increase this one. And this one, he blurs. You can see that when I was increasing it, his blur goes backwards a little more. So just use that to get the style that you want. I'm going to change my preview settings here. It's on final quality. I'm going to put it on fast draft so we can see what's going on a little faster. We don't have to wait around all the time. With the fast draft turned on, I can easily scrub, and it may not look the best, but I don't have to wait forever for it to render and load. So that helps me when I'm doing my tutorials. So the way you can check to see how this looks with the effect on and with it off is by clicking on this effects button up here, and that'll give you some look to see how it's working. So there is another way here, and that is an effect called CC force motion blur. So I'm going to type that in here, and here we go. It's under the time in the effects, so we'll drag that on top, and you can see as that brings a motion blur forward also. And we have a couple more samples here. We can increase the sampling, which will make it kind of like the samples in our comp settings under the advanced tab, like our samples here. And then we've got our shutter angle, and if we bring that up higher, we can see a lot more, and this goes way up. We can bring this up really high. to get a lot of motion blur if we want. So you have a little more playroom with that when you're using the force motion blur. So this is a decent way to get motion blur onto video footage that moves. So I'll just like bring it up here, and then if I turn it off, you can see how it kind of messes with the time and warps the time a little bit to force a motion blur into the video footage. Now these effects can be used on other things like images too, but they don't work the same way. So I'm going to delete this line out of here, and I'm going to add in just an image, and it doesn't matter what it's of. Let's bring this hot dog cat in, and I'll just cut him out real quick so we can see how this is gonna work out for us. Move our mask a little bit more so he's right in the middle. Alright, so we got a mask here, and I'll just move this from left to right with the position and just keyframe it. Oops, move that keyframe all the way to the end, and I'll move this one across like this. So if we go in the middle here, we can see if we enable motion blur, it's going to motion blur fine. But maybe we want to use the effects instead, and the effects will work with the motion blur already. So what we're gonna do is come to let's try to add the effects on it first, and I'll show you what happens. So let's add CC force motion blur to it, and you can see nothing happens. Even with motion blur enabled or anything like that, nothing's gonna happen no matter how much I increase. This is because the effect only works on a composition. So what we're going to need to do is pre-compose this into a composition. So we're going to go to Layer, and then come to the bottom to pre-compose, and just click on Move All Attributes into the new composition, hit OK. And now if we add CC Force Motion Blur to it, the composition, now we get some motion blur going on here. And you can mess with the shutter angle and everything like that just the same. Now we can open this up and turn on the motion blur also here, like that. Go back to our original comp here, and we'll just throw on the motion blur for that. And these will work with each other if I turn the native motion blur on, and they will kind of like work together to create another kind of motion blur there. So you can use those to tweak each other and not mess too much with the composition settings if you don't want to. So maybe you have a couple things in your comp that need to have different types of motion blur. Use the CC Force Motion Blur on them instead of everything in your comp settings, because this is going to affect everything that's in there, and this effect can just pretty much affect one composition within your composition. So I usually use just the motion blur in itself, but I wanted to show you this CC Force Motion Blur pretty much because it's a decent tool. And when I was using it earlier, I was just trying to put it onto the image, just like I was showing you not how to do before, by just trying to like put it on top of the original image without putting it into a composition first. And I was like couldn't figure out what the hell was going on for like probably like 25 minutes, and I was like getting mad and everything like that, so I had to go look it up. And so if you ever get stuck on something and you don't see it in like a tutorial, because sometimes you can't go over everything, just type it into Google and look it up. It's easy to find stuff like that. So thanks for watching this, and hopefully you don't have to struggle with it at all like I had to for 25 minutes, but it's a pretty awesome tool. See you guys in the next tutorial, and be sure to thumbs up if you liked it. Have a good one, everybody.